welcome everybody, and thank you for joining me. It's just wonderful to have you here and to be able to connect with you in this way. This is kind of a half an hour in our day where there's just a chance for us to set aside a space for ourselves and just focus on what's happening with ourselves, and just take this 20 minutes or so, this 20 to 30 minutes to just focus on that, both in our mind and our body. So today we're going to be covering a topic called body talk, and it's really inviting us to start to think about our body in a different way. You know, we've been doing this series of communicating from the heart, and we've started with the sense of working with our mind and our intelligence and understanding our needs, and really connecting to what our needs are and whether our needs are met or not met. But we've also spoken about our feelings and experiencing our feelings and our emotional intelligence. And today my invitation is just to invite you to look at our body as a form of intelligence, and how we can use our body to lead ourselves and to grow and develop and to make intentional choices about what we're going to do next, or how we're going to manage something using our bodies. So that's where we're going to go today, and I'll try and see how we can make a bit more use of the webcam during today's session, so that we maintain contact a little bit more. But if it should lead to anything, any interference with our communication, we'll adjust that. Okay. So as we go into today, I wanted to just invite you to have a look at this, these 3 points. I'm going to come back to this concept of coaching the person and not the issue. And we'll just explore that in a little way as we go through today, because we can be very tempted actually to focus on a particular issue as opposed to equipping ourselves to deal with something. We're also going to talk about how we use our body to actually lead us, and to use it to, sometimes when we get stuck in a certain thing, we don't know how to move from a specific behavior. You know, maybe we hold a particular role that is always the same role. You know, we're always that person who will come up with an alternative perspective, or we're always that person who will be stubborn or inflexible. And so sometimes it's difficult for us to shift from where we are, and we're going to invite you to use your body to almost lead you. And we'll look at a couple of practical things that we can actually work with as we go along. So I'd like to now just really invite you to think about today as opposed to just being present in today's session. What I really want to invite you is to think about using today as an opportunity to reflect after you actually leave today. So just remember this R that I'm actually leaving on this screen now for you. To, once you leave the session, go away, talk to friends, talk about what you've experienced today, because in the reflection comes the greatest learning, actually. You know, one of the things I've learned over time is when we share what we're learning, we learn a great deal more. And so that opens up this opportunity to explore this concept in a different way. So see today beyond this morning, but actually think about how you can engage after the session with these concepts and explore them. So why would we, in fact, deal with the person and not with the issue? So often when people come to me, and I've said to you, you know, I coach individuals and I coach groups, but they'll come to me with a particular issue. So the lockdown might be the issue, and we may be tempted to actually focus on that issue. But one of the most amazing things that we forget is that, in fact, when we have thought about an issue, when we look at our an issue, we've actually been able to, it's not so much about the issue, but about how we develop the capabilities to deal with an issue. And we often forget that we have developed capabilities in the past. You know, we might be dealing with a difficulty of social distancing today, or we may have a problem with money at the moment, or planning. But we have had experiences from our past. We were able to experience these difficult situations before, and we forget we've got all of that knowledge and experience that we can add to today. We also have obviously the situation we may be facing today, but we will also have situations tomorrow. So the idea is not to focus on the issue today, but rather focus on our capabilities and our ability to learn and to remind ourselves of what we've got and to develop additional capabilities so that we can deal with these difficult issues going forward, no matter what the issues are. Because today is just this time in our lives is just one of those things in our lives. You know, it's just interesting. Steve raised the point last week about the fact that we built our businesses. So we have that experience before, and we may almost feel like we're building our businesses again, and we're probably going to have to reinvent and build our businesses in the future as well. So it's about developing these capabilities to actually respond to a situation as opposed to just dealing with the situation. However, we've got many opportunities, and I'm just going to take you to the next slide. We've got many opportunities to get help where we can actually deal with the issue at hand, right? So over the talk lines, get counseling. And in a way, our question and answer sessions have been a bit like that, where we shared experiences as opposed to finding the wisdom in you. But let's come back to why we coach all of you and not just part of you, not just our brain or not just our emotion, but the whole part of us, okay? So let's look at this. If you have a look at a sense of coming back to this mind, when we think about our mind and how we think, we have spoken about our mind in the past. We have actually said we started with our mind and we said we need to focus on our mind, okay? I just want to, I've just noticed that I am battling with seeing my own screen when I share the webcam, so I'm going to have to just switch it off for a minute. When we focus on our mind, we have spoken about things, how we think, and how our thought processes have worked, and thereby recognizing, okay, we have these certain needs. And when we can think about our thought processes, we have this choice, and we can make intentional choices with our mind. We've spoken about the concept of not being victims to a particular thing. We've spoken about feelings and how we can experience our feelings and not shut down our feelings. Because when we shut down our feelings, we actually create other consequences to not being able to connect to our feelings and acknowledge all of us. So today we focus on this body, which really, if you look at this picture, it's an incredible centeredness. How do we center our body and actually connect to our body as an intelligent tool? And I just thought this picture, if you take a look at it, of this young boy looking at this, it was almost like, wow, if I could just connect to my body and look like this and be able to center my body, I could learn so much about myself. And so often we forget that we can learn from our body. So I wanted to invite you to just for a moment consider those times when you have listened to your body. So if you think about, I'll give you two examples which may make sense to you. When we think about when we get anxious, I don't know if you've had this experience. Sometimes we won't even realize that we are anxious, but we will become anxious because we'll become anxious and we'll actually hold our breath. I don't know if any of you have had that moment when you actually are holding your breath and you find yourself in the stage where you actually are holding your breath, and then you feel a sense of anxiety overwhelming you and you distance yourself from a conversation. I don't know if you've ever had that in your space, but when we've had that, often what we can do is just almost just take a deep breath, not like this whole big huge breath in front of somebody, but just a deep an ordinary breath to actually release some of the tension that we are feeling in our bodies. I find that it's happened to me when when somebody's triggered me and I'm going to almost have like an emotional reaction. I'll feel it in my head because I'll actually it'll be quite like a buzzing in my head, and I'll realize, okay, I have a choice now about how I react. And so I'll almost bring myself back to my body, breathe deeply, center myself, almost connect with my chest, open up my body so that I can come back into the room. The same thing with people who have presence. Have you ever noticed how some people can walk into a room and they'll have this incredible presence and they will invite you into their presence and they almost include you. It's like they don't have to do anything. They hold their body in such a way that they just are present. So what I want to invite you now is to just consider where you are with your body at the moment, right now in your own body, and let's listen to our own body. So just sit where you are, put your feet on the ground, attach your feet, allow your feet to touch the floor. Sit up straight, almost like you've got a pole that's extending from your waist through to your head, and you have to sit up straight, like a plumb line running through your body. Allow yourself to just pull your chest back slightly, not overextended, so that your organs in your body feel like they actually are hanging like on a coat hanger. There's space for them to actually breathe. And gently breathe in and out of your, gently breathe like you normally breathe, and close your eyes for a moment. And let's just scan our bodies and see where we are with our bodies, okay? So take the moment, your hands, the palms of your hands are on your thighs. As you scan down your body, I want you to become aware of what you are feeling in your body. So you might feel, some of you might already feel like the roots of your hair are being attached to your body. You know, they're pulling in your head. And just acknowledge that feeling and then move down. So go down into your eye area, and it's like a 3D scan. So it's in the front of your body and the back. Acknowledge what is in your chin. Some of you might hold your tension in your chin. Just become aware of your chin, your neck, your shoulders. You might want to wriggle them around. Your chest, your back, your tummy, your waist, your hands and your upper thighs. Sometimes we hold tension in our hands and we don't even realize it. Into your calves. You might have a pain in your calf from a run yesterday. Into your ankles, your feet. Feel your feet and your toes. We often ignore our feet and our toes, and just wriggle them around a little bit. Now, as you gently come back into the room and wriggle your toes and your fingers, and you come back into the room, I'm going to ask you just to connect to which area of your body you actually felt those that your tension in your body, like the pain or tension or another feeling. And just fill in this poll that we have at the moment, so we get a sense of what's happening for you in your body. You might have felt it in the jaw, you might have felt it in the neck, so select any. You might not have been able to find any, you might not have been able to connect to any part of your body. And that then answer other and just say couldn't feel anything. You might not have even been able to sit still for a moment. So even that sitting still was difficult for you. So then mark other and just say difficult to sit still, in fact, for yourself. And as we take that poll, I want you to become aware of just how you actually hold things in your body. You know, often it'll be in our tummy. We'll hold things in our body, in our tummy. And so I'm going to almost ask you this question as you complete that poll, is when do you find you really hold things? Steve and I were talking before we started, and he said, I often feel it in my neck and my shoulders, and especially at this time when we might be working at our desks so often, we feel our tension and our pressure in our neck and our shoulders. And I just want you to reflect on that for a moment. Let me know when we are at that point when we have got the poll, and let's just see. So quite a lot of us feeling it in our neck and our shoulders. Okay, so what I want us to now look at is when you think about that neck and the shoulders, I'm going to just show you using the webcam just for a moment. Some of you may actually find yourself, when you are using your body, you often put your head almost forward like this, and your shoulders forward, and you almost sense that you are pushing forward. And I want you to just be aware of, if you like that, just bring yourself back to centering like we did today. The idea and concept is to almost know that we can adjust our body and center ourselves like we were sitting or standing, so we can come back to centering our body. Just by doing that, we're able to center ourselves more and open up our minds and our body and our minds to almost think differently. It's the same as if you find yourself in a meeting where you might sit in a meeting and you hunch forward almost, or you actually fold your shoulders, fold your arms. If you fold your shoulders, I'd be curious how you do that. We fold our arms, and in a way, we almost close ourselves off And if we just come back to that centered position, we can actually start to tap into our creativity and reconnect with the room and not block ourselves off so much from the room and what we're experiencing in the room. So it's about that. It's kind of returning to that concept and saying, how can we actually connect to our bodies? So let's have a look at what you hold in your bodies. When you're experiencing something, you might find, like when you feel happy or you feel sad, you might actually start, some of you may actually find yourself experiencing it in your actual body before you experience it in your mind. So let's just have a look at some of these pictures. And I just want to check, can you see, if you can see these pictures at the moment. So have a look at these pictures where we and I just want to invite you to think about this one. When you are sad, for some of you, you may actually feel, if I ask you to go back to a sad moment, just take your mind to a sad moment and just connect to that sad moment. We won't stay here for very long, but in that sad moment, where do you feel it in your body as you experience that sad moment? And you may say, Debbie, I can't feel it anywhere. And often we don't know because we're not used to connecting with our body. But if I think about that sad moment, it's almost like a tightening in my chest and I feel my breath gets taken away. Now I know that if I just breathe and use my body to breathe, I can move from that sad moment and come back to be centered and I can release that sadness. Now if you think about, let's go to that happy moment. Just come to a moment, and I've just shown you this guy where he fist pumps. Just pointed you to this picture of this guy where he fist pumps, and he has this kind of really happy moment. Okay, I want you to just go to a moment when you're happy. And again, I don't know where you experience that happiness, but it almost starts in our chest. For me, it starts in my chest and my throat. And there's a sense of me feeling this happiness and it extends across my chest into my hands. And I almost want to do what he does, but I want to lift up my hands, both of my hands into the air, and I experience that in my body. Now, what's wonderful about, if you know, when you actually feel something in your body and you start to experience something in your body, you can shift your mood or your tone and come back to being centered and really shift your mindset and inform yourself so that you can move to a different space. And when you know that that's happening in your body, you are able to say, I have a choice and I can intentionally make up my mind how I'm going to work with my body now as I go forward. And so you have that opportunity to choose where you go. So when you connect to your body, it invites you to create a sense of balance for yourself. And you can connect to that intelligence that you have and you can recenter yourself. So here's a couple of practical examples I wanted to just share with you. But as opposed to listening to our body, we can shift now to actually say, okay, how do we lead with our body? So I remember earlier I said to you, think about a time like what you might find yourself getting stuck in, okay? And so I'm going to take you here on the screen to just when you get stuck sometimes, you may find yourself actually not knowing how to become unstuck. And no matter how much you consider it from an intellectual point of view, you're just not able to become unstuck in that moment. So start with this guy here who's the juggler. He's stuck in a space. Now, one of the things we can do is to embrace our body in a different way and actually use our body to help lead our way of becoming unstuck. So if you're at your desk at the moment and you have something that you can take in your hand, I have like a cream bottle in my hand. Now, sometimes when I'm stuck, I can actually at my desk almost use my hand cream like a juggling ball. If you had an orange in front of you, you could use it like a juggling ball. And even taking that action where we juggle and we can invite ourselves to juggle right at your desk with our body, not even a fancy exercise, not doing yoga or a full class. We can juggle with the hand cream and actually almost invite ourselves to say, hey, I don't have to become unstuck. I can use my body to help me start practicing becoming unstuck in what I'm doing. If you are anxious, you can almost use your body, and you can go out on the grass. If you have access to grass, you can take a break from your desk and you can actually start to touch the grass with your feet and walk on the feet. And you will find yourself, in fact, being able to connect to your body and reduce that level of anxiousness that you have in your body. And it's quite a phenomenal in terms of just using our body. We learn to ground ourselves and breathe. When you're overwhelmed, I've used breath quite often. We can actually just literally, to teach ourselves to become freer in ourselves, we can use our breath to actually connect to our body and actually breathe. Like practice just at your desk, connecting with your breath, slowing your breath down and picking your breath up and pacing yourself with your breath. So we can use our body to lead us into new habits and new behaviors as a means to transition. Even if we feel we can't do it intellectually and emotionally, we can start to put in place these body practices that allow us to shift. It's like a simple smile. When we're very, very serious about life and we take life so seriously, we can actually just smile more often. Just literally, even if we don't feel like smiling, place a smile on our body so that we can actually shift from the serious state and practice smiling and move to another state of being and allow ourselves then to open up our minds and our bodies in a different way. They are so interconnected. For those of you who have had a lot of stress and might have had a serious illness, you get this concept immediately. But it's about reminding ourselves we can actually do it at our desk and in our workplace easily. So I want to just pause there for a moment and ask you now, if you wouldn't mind just thinking about this concept for a moment, centering your body, just revisit your body as you're sitting where you are. What happened to your body while you were listening? Did you go back to folding your arms, crossing your legs, leaning forward? What happened to your body? Bring it back to center and now go to the chat line. And just tell us in the chat line some of your thoughts at the moment about this connection between mind and body. What you have noticed about the connection between mind and body, and whether you have been able to pick up on any of these issues, even just while we were talking, if it made you reflect on anything. Just give us a statement or a comment. Unfortunately, I can't see who's in attendance today, so I can't say invite you to share in the chat line. But certainly, I'd love to just hear from any of you, just in terms of this concept and how you have used your body to lead you in a way.